Magic and spell casting are staples in RPGs because not only is wielding the forces of creation with your very fingertips awesome, it also makes for some pretty good world building. To better illustrate this point, I'm going to be examining 3 really popular JRPG franchises and their magic systems and tell you what those magic systems mean about those worlds. Final Fantasy, SMT, and Dragon Quest. When it comes to Final Fantasy, a lot of the time the magic comes from things that make up the planet. Elements such as fire, ice, thunder, and earth, but also concepts such as gravity and time are able to be manipulated in the world of Final Fantasy. This makes a bunch more sense when you look at how a lot of older Final Fantasy games are rooted in environmentalism and gave slight commentary on the ever-going battle between a technologically advancing society and the planet in its natural state. And even if we didn't look at all of that and went further back in FF's history, the crystals that used to be a big part of the older Final Fantasy games' stories were physical manifestations of the building blocks of the planet that would bestow power to the heroes. When you cast a spell in Final Fantasy, you're essentially fighting with the power of the planet at your side. Except if you're a Lassie or Clive, they're weird. Atlas titles such as Shin Megami Tensei or the Persona series use magic in relationship to divinity. In these games, you tend to partner with deities and figures from folklore all around the world, and they fight with you at your side or in your subconscious. Whatever. What really sells this idea of divinity, to me at least, is the naming convention of the spells used in Atlas's RPGs. Instead of a fire spell simply being called fire or fireball, it's called Agni. Agni comes from the word Agni, which is the Hindu god of fire, and that trend is constant when applied to most of the other spells in the game. Garu is a reference to Garuda, the Hindu god known as the Bird King, whose wings were so powerful they were able to generate some biblical level feats. And even the almighty spell Megiddo is a reference to Mount Megiddo, which is the mountain that people of a certain belief believe to be the place where Judgment Day will occur. Using magic in Atlas RPGs means that you are literally invoking the power of the gods. It's no wonder why in some SMT titles you end up having to fight off against entities like Satan, Metatron, and even Jehovah themselves. And last but not least, Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is a world of wonder and imagination. At least I'm pretty sure that's how Yuji Horii envisioned it when him, Sugiyama, and Toriyama came together to create the franchise. And because of this wonder, the magic system in Dragon Quest is tied to the idea of conjuration. Just creating the magic. It's why when spells are casted, you tend to see circles engraved with runes surrounding the casters. They are bringing the magic power within themselves to the forefront to cast their spells. It's why spells like Oomph can work on spellcasters in Dragon Quest, because the potency is tied to the caster's power and not any other external factors. I believe this strictly because of how Dragon Quest came to be. For those who don't know, Dragon Quest was inspired by Western RPGs like Wizardry and Ultima, which were made by some of the biggest D&D nerds on the planet. One of the foundations of Dungeons & Dragons is the ability for your character to personally grow stronger in the world of their own accord, and Dragon Quest took from that. It's why leveling up in Dragon Quest tends to yield you a bunch of skills and spells, and honing in on the idea that these are characters on an adventure using just themselves, their skills, and their know-how, and not having any other external force giving them the power to be capable of besting the odds. Now, what does all of this mean? I have no clue, but it's cool to know why I can use magic in the first place.